Hanging in there on a Monday morning. Chiefs losing to the Chargers yesterday, 16-13 out at Arrowhead Stadium. And with the way some of the other games played out, the Chiefs have officially been eliminated from the postseason. The conversation with Kendall Gammon is brought to you by Xfinity. Sports are unpredictable. The price of your internet should not be. Introducing the 5-year price guarantee. One consistent internet price, 5 years, no annual contracts, guaranteed. All right, Kendall, where did it all go wrong yesterday outside of the obvious with the Mahomes blown ACL?
I just think the injury side of the offensive line, when you essentially have two third-string tackles playing, that had Patrick running for his life most of the day anyhow, and the offense just couldn't get anything going. I mean, anytime you only put 13 points on the board, especially from a Chiefs team led by Patrick Mahomes, things aren't going well. Defensively, that's a solid effort. So it was rough. It just seemed like they could never get, just string plays together. It's been, the story of the year, Pete, really.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to overreact. I mean, we know that this team was, even if it had made the playoffs and once Mahomes went down, it was going to be tough no matter what. But at the end of the game, it felt like a microcosm of the season where they're in a position to potentially try to kick a game-tying field goal and go to overtime. Gardner Minshew's in there at quarterback. They have a delay of game. You're still basically on the verge of field goal range, and then you ask Gardner Minshew to try to, win you the game, get you in the better field goal range. I don't know, but obviously he throws the interception, and that's game over. What did you think of that, Kendall? Because I'm like, at that point, asking Gardner Minshew to win me the game feels like a bit much. Just take your chance with Butker and see if you can get this thing to overtime. What about you?
You know what? Candidly, I wasn't paying attention to it much because I was just having such a hard time with the fact of what was going on QB-wise in general. You make good points. I've heard it talked about after the fact. I wonder, though, whether it's like, okay, yeah, we say, well, I mean, how can we expect him to win the game at the end, being second-string QB and not playing? But then we could also be, well, if we get into overtime, do we really expect a second-string QB, and everything to be able to get it done? So I think it's part of that, and also I'm not speaking for anybody. I just wonder whether the mindset as a head coach is, we're either going to win or lose it right here. I don't see any value in going to overtime. I mean, you never give up and anything like that, but if your QB's hurt, whether you make playoffs or not, you're not going to make a run. That being said, I'm sure that wasn't completely the mindset of Andy Reid, but I don't know. There had to be a lot of things going on, or because of the shock of everything that happened, there may not have been much going on in the mind.
So what about, I saw a couple of the national reporters highlighting the fact that the Chiefs, in their opinion, in talking to executives, just look tired, and not that you need to be some kind of NFL whiz to come to that conclusion, but this team has played really an extra season of football over the past half a decade with 3-4 playoff games every single year. How much do you think that has played a role in this season, or is that just, frankly, finding an excuse that's fairly convenient?
I thought it was the latter earlier in the year when people were talking about it, but as I watched the team move on, Pete, I started to subscribe to the fact of, what, I kind of see that a little bit, and it is fair. It's not an excuse. You've played an extra season. That's different than most of the other teams because of this sustained success the Chiefs have had. So I think it's fair, but when it comes down to it, ultimately it doesn't matter. You have to deal with it. Now they're going to get a little rest this year, and we'll see where we go in terms of how they look next year. And the big thing is now you're starting to evaluate young people, starting to see how people play when there's not a lot on the line and what type of pride they have. All kinds of different things that you're going to look at these last 3 games for the Chiefs.
Is there one big change that no matter what happens over the next 3 games, Kendall Gammon wants to see fixed for this team or changed with this team in the offseason?
Well, health. I mean, really, because I'm okay with the offensive line when it's healthy. It just hasn't been. I think you can't dismiss the defensive line in terms of the edge rush or just in general getting home to the quarterback, the opponent's QB, and putting pressure, getting sacks. I think that that helps wins games and does good things. And the Chiefs have had a difficulty with that. So I'm sure that will be looked at with a fine-tooth comb.
All right, I got to ask you, we've talked on and off about it throughout the season, but it seems like it got more attention yesterday. I saw this. It was written about in the Associated Press recap piece. It was highlighted by many reporters. Noted here, Travis Kelce was in no mood to talk yesterday after the Chiefs were eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2014. Just as he's done after several losses this season, the star tight end refused to answer questions from reporters. Listen, you and I feel differently about this, Kendall, but last night, star quarterback is done, ACL, he can't talk, you're eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, if there's ever a time to show that leadership, isn't it yesterday from Travis Kelce?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. Yeah, you and I, we differ a little bit because I understand it. I understand what you're talking about, and it does make sense. And I would have liked to have seen him step up and talk yesterday. But I also think we're at the end of his career, and maybe this is different. I will say I've done a little research, and he's not talked after wins before also. So I think sometimes that's just part of it. And then, I think we talked about it, but, he does talk in his podcast, and that does have some value. So this, I don't know, right, wrong, or indifferent, this may add to it a little bit.
Yeah. It just seems to me like, if there's ever a time when Mahomes is talking after every game.
Agreed.
I mean, it was yesterday, right?
I think it's fair. Yeah, no, I think that's that's fair for sure.
So now we get ready for Tennessee coming up this weekend, and they're playing out the string, which is weird to say about this Chiefs team, something that we have never said in our several years of conversation, Kendall. So how, if you're Brett Veach, are you basically using these last three games to kind of see what you've got and analyze this team? Like, how is this different, as now it's weird to say they really are in preparation for 2026 mode?
Yeah, you are. You're evaluating like always. So that's always going on. But now you get to see how players perform when there isn't much on the line, and what type of priority they have and how they'll play. As a player, you're playing for your job each and every week for the most part. Yeah, I mean, the starters who are entrenched, whatever, maybe not as much, but most of the guys, they understand that, you go to camp next year and it's all on the table again. This is a situation I was in every year of my career, is you deal with it. Knowing that somebody's trying to take your job. So you keep playing. As far as Andy Reid, he's unbelievably competitive. So going to be trying to win. I'm sure they will have quietly some talks that we'll never hear about, but you'll look at playing some guys potentially just to see how they react and see what you have. So you start basically, as you kind of mentioned, you're really starting to prepare for free agency and the draft 3 weeks earlier than you would like.
And now you've got Mahomes, of course, done with the ACL. The question is, when do we see him play football next? What's the mindset like, whether it's been your playing days or just from some of the guys you've been around, Kendall, when a star player or any player has an injury like this that they've really never had at any level of their career? How they handle this, how they come back from this is obviously very telling. What have you seen over your playing days, and how do you expect Mahomes to take care of business?
Well, I think he will take care of business because of how competitive he is and how dedicated he is and how much he just loves the sport of football. In general, I've seen several guys. I remember when I was at the Steelers, Rod Woodson actually tore his ACL first few games of the season, and they did not put him on the IR, and he managed to rehab and actually play in Super Bowl 30 when we played. So it can be done quickly, but it's tough. And, I mean, he wasn't full strength, but he was good enough to play, probably better than a lot. But, when you're at this level, you have an ego, you have a competitiveness. So most everybody that gets this, I mean, you drive to get back, and I expect that and more from Patrick Mahomes.
All right. Well, we will catch up on Friday, get set for the Titans. Kendall Gammon on KCMO. Great to have you here, my friend. Have a fantastic week.
Sounds good. Take care, Pete.
All right. Kendall Gammon. Good to have him on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.